Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Lisa's Eats, and today we are going to be making the bone broth from The Mandalorian TV show.
Bone broth for the little one.
I'm so excited because I've watched it so many times in isolation at the moment, and recently restrictions have been lifted in Perth, so I've been able to go to my favorite butcher, secretly a Mandalorian, who was magically able to get me some Gringer bones. But if you don't have access to that, beef bones work great as well. And I'm just really excited because Flavia and I are gonna rewatch The Mandalorian after this, and we're just gonna have our bone broth and be like, oh, so exciting. Let's do it. I'm so excited. So these are the ingredients you're going to need. 2 kilos of grass-fed Gringer bones. Now, if you don't have this, organic beef bones work really well. Get them from any of your local butchers. So I've got different cuts of long bone here, some of the ends and some of the middle of the bone. The butcher also threw in a few different other cuts, I'm not exactly sure, but they'll all be organic. 1 large bay leaf or 2 small bay leaves. 2 large cloves of garlic, or 3 small. About a 4 centimeter chunk of ginger. Now ginger's optional, but I really like it, recommend putting it in there. 2 medium brown onions, 2 medium to large carrots, between 10 to 15 peppercorns, 3 medium stalks of celery, and I've also got the inner leaves of the celery. This helps give a bit of sweetness. 2 to 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This is just to help demineralize the bone and bring out all the gelatin and the minerals and the goodness. Highly recommend it. You won't taste it, trust me, but it's essential for this. And then some olive oil for helping to bake our bones. Let's get started and fill you full of nutritious goodness to help defeat all the things and protect the child. So what we're going to do first is take our Gringer bones and we're going to cover them in a bit of olive oil and put them in a baking dish and put them in an oven at 200 degrees Celsius or about 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes. Then we're going to turn the bones over and let them bake for another maybe 10 to 20 minutes. You want them nice and golden brown. This is the way. Now, with the bones, one thing you can do is take out all the bone marrow from these ones, but I really like it, especially because that's where a lot of the nutrients comes from. The only thing, if you keep your bone marrow in, it does lead to a bit of a cloudier broth, but that really doesn't faze me. If you want a clear broth, then take it out. But it's so good for you. Now, the reason why we bake these ahead of time is that it helps bring out the sweetness of the bone and the meat. You can just chuck these straight into your slow cooker without browning them, but it doesn't have the same richness and deliciousness. So if you're short on time, you can skip this step, but I highly recommend. While the bones are cooking, we're going to take our vegetables, make sure they're nicely washed and scraped of any dirt, because I'm not peeling them just because it gives extra flavor. And we're going to roughly chop them and then chuck them into our slow cooker. So now that our bones are cooked and our vegetables are chopped and in our slow cooker, there's 2 ways that you can proceed here. Is you can put the bones straight in your slow cooker, fill with water and add the apple cider vinegar and keep on low until it's cooked for about 16 to 30 hours, depending on how long you have. Or what I'm gonna do, just because I find this gives a better flavor, is we're gonna put these in a pot and put it on the stove with some apple cider vinegar, bring it just to the boil and let it simmer, skim off the scum that comes off the top, and then put it in here and cook. This is an extra step, but I think it's important. I've added enough water just to cover my bones, and what I'm going to do is add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar now to this, and then I'm going to add a little bit more when we put it into the slow cooker. Now, if you don't have a slow cooker, of course you can keep this on the stove on a low simmer for the same amount of time. I also just prefer using a slow cooker because I'm not comfortable leaving my stovetop on that long. But if you can and you're okay with that, go for it. So our bone broth's been cooking for about 22 hours. It looks and smells incredible in here. And what we're gonna do is take the bones and large bits of vegetables out first, put them in a separate bowl, and then we're going to strain it through a nice fine metal sieve. You can also use cheesecloth here, but I don't have it. And taking the bones out beforehand is very helpful because if you try to pour it in as it is, the bones might fall on the floor. Experience is key here. Don't do it. And then I'm also going to take a little bit out, put it in a little glass cup, and we'll put it in the fridge just so that you can see that it jellifies really well. That's what you want. Jellify is a word. Now, with all the veggies that we're straining here, you can actually keep them and add them back to the broth later. The main reason we're just straining this is to get rid of any tiny bits of bone that may have fallen off, because you don't really want to bite down onto that or choke on a bone. That's not ideal. So as you can see how fine this sieve is, but you can also see the very tiny bits of bone. This is what we want to avoid. So now our bone broth is nice and strained, and as you can see, we've got a really nice layer of fat on the top. Now, if you're going to be serving this straight away or using it in a soup, you can keep the fat, of course you can, but it does leave a bit of an oily taste in the mouth. What we're going to do now, because we're going to have it, is scrape off all of the fat off the top. If you're storing this in the fridge for a few days or in the freezer, what I'd recommend is use some clean, sterilized glass jars and pour it as it is, because the fat makes a layer above the soup and it actually stops oxygen from oxidizing all the things below it, so it actually stores better. So again, if you're storing this, keep the fat on. If you're not, take it off. You can also put this in ice cubes and then like melt a few for a little cup of soup. It freezes really, really well as well. This is just so versatile, I love it. And you can put it in soups, you can just drink it on its own. So these ones which I'm storing in the fridge have the layer of fat, and we're going to put the lids on them and let them cool in the fridge straight away. For the rest of this, because we're having some people over for soup and to watch The Mandalorian, I'm so excited. First, we're going to take the fat layer off. I'm just doing that with a cold metal spoon. If you use a cold metal spoon, it helps gelatinous, all of the words. It helps get the fat off the top of the soup. That's what you want. And then we're going to strain it again into our nice little serving thing, and then we're going to serve it. If you do use an ice cold spoon, it helps get the fat off a lot easier. So if I just say, there's still fat on this spoon, if I put it in the cold, look at that. One little trick that I do to see if I've extracted all the gelatin from the bones or a lot of gelatin is that I take a small amount and put it in the fridge and see if it turns to jelly. If your bone broth doesn't do this, you might have to add a little bit of extra cider vinegar, or the bones just might not have that much gelatin depending on the cut of bone you've got. When you heat this up, it'll turn back into liquid. It's amazing. And if you didn't know, this is how they make jelly normally. Alrighty guys, so that's how you make the bone broth from The Mandalorian, and just a very healthy bone broth in general, but it's Mandalorian, let's be honest. I'm so excited because it's so warm, it smells so good. We probably got about 3 liters in the end, and I just want to drink it now because it smells so good, so I think we should find the child. Let's eat, let's eat. Oh, drink, 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 eat. Okay, go. You have to try it first because you've never had this.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, smells good.
Now the thing is, if you've never had bone broth, it's not a huge flavor, but it's a beautiful texture and it's amazing. It's great for bases of soups. It's great in like ramen. Oh, it's so good.
That's a really nice one, actually.
Oh.
Yummy.
Now, we haven't added any salt at all, but you can go ahead and add some here.
You can just feel the nutrients going into your body and you're like, I am health.
Yeah, so it's always better to make this just as it is, and then you can season it each time you're pouring something. So if you're making a soup, add some salt, add some pepper, add some extra ginger, garlic, whatever you want. But this on its own is just pure nutrients.
Nutrition.
Do-do-do-do. Let's go fight.
Let's go.
What you doing? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll take this one. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video.
Like and subscribe if you want to see more.
And leave a comment in the section below so that we can make something you've always wanted to eat. Because I love it.
Bye.
Preferably anime or something TV related or something like that or something awesome game related.